The Mississippi River, or the Mississippi in the language of the Ojibwe meaning Great River, is one of the most historic pieces of the state of Minnesota. Starting from its headwaters of Lake Itasca in northern Minnesota, the river travels an incredible 2,340 miles south to reach its mouth in Louisiana to empty into the Gulf of Mexico. Throughout this journey, however, you often can't help but wonder what kinds of things the river may have picked up on its long migration to the southern United States. For generations, the Ojibwe and Dakota peoples lived on the river and utilized it for fishing, transportation, and water. The city of Minneapolis began in 1848 on St. Anthony Falls, one of the major waterfalls on the Mississippi. Minneapolis's riverfront quickly became a place of cultural and historical significance. By the late 1800s, many small lumber mills had closed, and North Minneapolis was growing into the nation's leading lumber producer. Minneapolis quickly became the world's flour milling capital alongside lumber. The city began utilizing the river by pumping out water to fight against fires. Then, in the early 1870s, those pumps began to distribute to houses and businesses, establishing a drinking supply. Both Minneapolis and St. Paul still use the river as drinking water to this day. Today, the water level of the Mississippi River in the MSP area is around 4.5 to 5 feet deep, and its watersheds are home to more than 500 species of fish and wildlife, excluding the number of native plants that call the Mississippi home. The Twin Cities have in place what is called a stormwater pollution prevention plan, which is installed to help with toxic waste entering sewer drainage systems in the river. It identifies potential sources of contamination and helps create and maintain specific strategies to help in prevention. The cities also follow stormwater best management practices, or BMPs, to keep things in order. These practices include, but are not limited to, managing storm runoff rates, runoff volumes, and putting in place measures that decrease the amount of pollutants and sediment conveyed by said runoff. According to the City of Minneapolis, BMPs that use the properties of vegetation or soil to remove stormwater pollutants through physical and biological processes are often referred to as green infrastructure. The biggest threats to the river besides the runoff are by far the invasive species in the river, such as carp and curly-leaf pondweed, as well as the ever-looming threat of oil companies such as 3M wanting to build pipelines right through the river's headwaters and risking the permanent destruction of Lake Itasca for corporate greed. The University of Minnesota campuses in the Twin Cities are also doing their part in keeping the river clean. Each year, the university collects and reuses around 5 million gallons of rainwater for rain gardens located along the river. The stadiums around campus are also equipped with a complex and thorough stormwater management system that keeps runoff into the Mississippi at a minimum and heavily reduces the amount of potential chemical pollution slipping into the river. What you, the audience, can do to help the Mississippi River is reduce the usage of harmful chemicals that have detrimental long-term effects. Promote the idea of using safer road salt on roads. Toxic chemicals used to melt icy pavement are chemically harmful not just to wildlife but to humans as well. You can also help by reducing fertilizer usage, as the introduction of fertilizer creates algae blooms in the water, which deplete the river of the oxygen necessary for other organisms to survive. You might be wondering what you can do yourself without too much effort. Well, you can be more environmentally friendly by reducing gasoline runoff through biking, busing, or carpooling to school. Fun fact, Minneapolis is actually one of the top biker-friendly cities in the country. If that isn't an option when going out by the river, clean up after yourself, use recycling bins, and, generally speaking, keep the area exactly the way you left it, if not, leave it better.
In Native American culture, water is considered to be one of the most sacred parts of the land. It is the bringer of life, and the Mississippi River does just that for the Twin Cities in the drinking water it supplies us with. The river does so much for us, and it's about time that we do our part to give back to what gives us life.